told you to quiet down, but now you wear a crown. Visionary queen with a spark.
Welcome to You Matter in Business with Ariel Faith, your brand, your story, and your success, because you matter in your business.
Welcome to You Matter in Business. This is Ariel Faith, your host. We are welcoming Lorrie Thomas today. She is the founder of Web Marketing Therapy and author of the McGraw-Hill 36-hour course of online marketing. She's a marketing evangelist. That's marketing plus education, who helps intentional leaders stop the stress and overwhelm around marketing. Lorrie believes marketing is about maximizing ideal relationships, and she's on a mission to help heart-centered organizations get over their fear of marketing and get in the game. Now, for my audience, they know this is right up my speaking alley, so I know this conversation will be awesome. And thank you for joining us, Lorrie.
Oh, thank you.
Everything's good in your life right now?
Fabulous.
Good. Let's dig in already. So you had, in your bio, you had said that you're staging a peaceful revolution, which I thought was kind of interesting, but it's a shift on how people think about marketing, what needs to change, especially for heart-centered business owners who feel that marketing is icky and inauthentic. And that is right up my conversation. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so it began many, many years ago when I was teaching marketing at UC Santa Barbara, and eventually the same courses I would teach for UC Berkeley. And my students were corporate employees, small business owners, entrepreneurs, and we'd love all the material. Everyone had a ball learning about email, web, SEO, all the things. And when it came go time, usually around the final project, there was always this like, ugh! And it was no different with my students than it was in the corporations I was working for, where they're like, marketing, is this going to work? Or maybe we should spend the 10K and hope it's going to work out. And I just found that there was so much stress and overwhelm and anxiety around marketing, and it's really the way that we think about and approach it. And so I found in the classroom, which was always such a great testing ground for how things were received, because I had a live audience and, could get the instant facial reactions and feedback. And I wrote, being the smart aleck I am, MARKEDING on the whiteboard, which is a mashup of the words marketing and education. It was such a powerful way. And I was like, look, stop thinking about marketing in the traditional way of pushing and promoting products and services, which is a definition you will still see when you Google the definition of marketing today. And I said, instead of pushing and promoting, right, like used car salesperson, what do you want to help your audience understand? What do you want to teach them? Let's think about education as our North Star. And suddenly my students would go, oh, well, they need to know this, or they need to do that, or blah, blah, blah. And it was like, we are moving mountains. And so, and also now I can't believe I'm saying that I've had my business for 20 years, but I have. It's in December of 2005 is when I became an LLC. For 20 years, I've seen great organizations struggle to have great marketing results. And so this peaceful revolution is a matter of, how do I help people, teams, leaders think about and approach marketing in a way that's happy, healthy, and wealthy. And it does begin with this educational mindset. So yes, if I can help more great business people have great marketing results, then I've done what I need to do.
I'm a firm believer in the ripple effect. So sometimes we don't always even know what ripple we've created, but I have seen this in marketing. And it could be because it's what I'm Googling. I'm not really sure if the algorithm is on my side, but so many other marketers are now talking more of a conversational level, more of storytelling, more of education. And they're really working to the authentic marketing rather than the salesy car, you said it, car salesperson,
yeah.
I see it more and more myself, and I'm also out there championing the fact that marketing can actually be fun. And I'm a person who abhorred marketing. I mean, literally, that was like the scariest thing on the planet. I hated it. And then I learned, just like you said, that there's a way of framing it, reframing my belief about marketing. And now I actually enjoy it, and I enjoy helping others see the light. There is another way.
There is a happier, healthier, wealthier way. And when we think about marketing not as a way to maximize transactions, but as a way to actually maximize relationships, the way we attract relationships in real life is usually relaxed and with ease, right? And so why not approach marketing in that same kind, gentle service, not selling kind of way?
Yeah. And if somebody's interested, cool, you'll give them more data, but you're not going to shove it down their throat. You know what I mean?
No, and psychologically, anytime you begin a relationship, any type of working relationship where you're pushing and convincing and all that, and then the person's like, oh, okay, suddenly the whole psychology of the relationship, it's like on you. Well, you told me and you said that this would work. And versus the, let me empower you with a bunch of information and help you see your options. And then if, it actually goes back to my teaching world. I was always taught to teach to the smartest students in the classroom. That was a teacher tip of, don't dim your light. You're there to serve. You want to be there for the people that really want to be there. And I found just by owning my magic, if you will, it's the same thing that goes with our businesses. I've got the gray hair now to prove it, but when I started my business in my late 20s, I said yes to a lot of things. And I'd say, well, let me educate you why, but I want to do it this way. And I realized in marketing, well, any business, I'm here to be great. And sometimes that doesn't mean saying yes or going along with something. And I speak my truth, and I'll just say, and thankfully my company's called Marketing Therapy, so I can say what I need to say. But I said, look, you're being a danger to yourself and others. And if you keep flushing money down the toilet like that, you're going to implode. And they're like, so having, but being of service, and it all goes back to education. Whenever you're in doubt, it's like, wait, are my ads educational? Are my blog posts educational? Is that graphic? Being of service or empowering, is it relevant? Is it useful? It just shifts the mindset versus, should we post 5 times a week or 7? It's like,
or should we do the latest TikTok dance?
Only if you're good at dancing. And for some people, yes. For most
sometimes
people,
the ones that are bad go viral. You just never know.
yeah.
It's terrible, isn't it? Oh, this world. So just a quick question, kind of circling back just a teeny bit, but what do you think the root of the resistance is for the average person who doesn't have a marketing education? They don't really know there are options. They have had the experience of being marketed to. What is that resistance that they feel when it comes to them being the marketer?
Oh my gosh. It could be, am I doing the right thing? What do I do first? I see.
Will it work?
Yeah, will it? I mean, of course, yes. Is this going to make me or break me as far as my professional reputation? I do see most of that fog of almost like, because there's so much information. There's TikTok, there's Instagram, there's YouTube, there's SEO, there's paid search, there's all these things.
There is.
There's this like,
Overwhelm.
And when you have sales folks who are selling their products and services and you're trying to figure out like what's right, what's not, it's often, what do I do first, or what's the right step to take? And so I find we call it at Web Marketing Therapy, prioritizing your need to haves before your nice to haves.
Right.
And there was a founder of a really phenomenal network, and this person was the other agency that had been referred to her was like video. And yes, she had all the it factor to do video, phenomenal speaker, but her website copy was not clear. There were a lot of things deficient, including SEO best practices. You went to that homepage and it needed to say who they were, what they did, whom they served. And I said, yes, video. However, if we're going to drive visibility with that, we want to get those people who are coming to the site from that visibility actually through it versus just having them hit. And so it was a matter of prioritizing. And actually, just because of all of my years of running a business, I noted that this person was doing too much on their own. And I said, you need to get a virtual assistant and someone to help you, because once we get going, there's stuff that just is not at your pay scale that you should be doing. And I'm seeing that. And I was like, and again, I get paid to be great, not nice. And so, I said, I see any of this being something that like, you need to look at the scalability. And so that's my pro recommendation. And she did hire an assistant, and that person's been with her for years.
I like that saying you just said. I believe most of the time you do this very nicely though, but I get paid to be good, not nice. I don't know why, but that really resonated with me.
it lands, and I will say, especially with my type A clients, they're like, oh, ha, 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 right? But it is a reminder, and that to me is also a form of education. Let me educate you that not all marketing firms are created equal. On our website, you will not see a services page because we're not trying to sell you services. My team and I want to help you implement long-term solutions, and sometimes that includes training employees at a company or taking, an offshore person doing social media and empowering them with better templates and style guides, and then we're in and we're out. And so that's the stuff that we look at, and not let's lock you into a long-term contract kind of thing. It's like, how do we build and evolve, and as your company grows? Yeah.
Behind the lens, crafting tales and news.
Bring your marketing, your brand to life with storytelling and strategy. Cut through the noise with clear messaging and compelling visuals that resonate with your ideal client. We bring strategy, story, and visuals to help you with your marketing. Visit arieljoyfaith.com and schedule a consultation and see how we can help you bring your brand to life.
Selfies here, just genuine sight. Authenticity in every lie.
Excellent, actually, because it's a frustrating world when you go to the different professionals that you need, and each of them have a large amount of money that they all want. And then you look at this one job that you thought would be about $5K, and it turns into 15 to 20. And then, oh, wait, that's $5,000 a month just for the SEO. So it's amazing how big these numbers become. And if we are not looking at the overall arch of our marketing strategy, whatever you want to call it, across everything and whether they connect, oh my gosh, what a waste of money, right? That's like, gulp.
Oh, yeah. I have told clients, I said, I'd actually rather you take your partner on a vacation because I think you're going to get more out of that than what you're getting with. But on the flip side too, there's also companies that our clients have, and we work arm in arm with firms that might even do exactly what we do, but they're great at it. And we're like, you do that and we'll do this, and let's collaborate because we're both marketing teams, and it just amplifies stuff. So, it's a matter of, just having a finger on the pulse and being curious and asking, is this working, or what can I be doing better? And
it's amazing to me as a photographer, I very early in my branding photography work, I discovered a huge disconnect of, okay, I hand the photos to the web designer, and then, oh my gosh, the disconnect was so huge. And it was like, okay, fine. You got to use pictures for a reason. You have to use words for a reason, and they have to blend. The disconnect between that was so amazing to me. So that's actually what I help women figure out, where's that gap and how to fix it. So we're on the same page, and when I do photography for women, I'm very strategic. We have an hour or two on the phone just strategizing what we're trying to accomplish, so that when we're there, we're not worried. We have a plan, we have a mission, and we have a goal.
Totally.
It now is very usable content. It's not just a bunch of pretty pictures.
Yes, and great photography lasts, and there's so much you can do with it. From the website to social media. If someone says, oh, I like the design of this website, I like the design of this, 9 out of 10 times, it's not the web design, it's the photography. I said, what you're looking at is you like the photography, because if you look at the patterns of what you like, it's not, these are all templated websites, and they're like, oh, I'm like, so if you want that, you got to level up your photography. Or one of our employees, she actually was a photographer on her own and has been on our team now for a couple years. And she said she always loved working with us because she'd actually do her photography, and then she'd give it to us and we'd deploy it beautifully, where she said, I can't tell you how many times we do all this stunning work and then it sits in a folder. And it's like,
yeah, they don't know what to do with it. It's amazing to me.
Those are marketing gold. Great photography, it's marketing gold.
So tell me again, I want to hear this term that you coined. You wrote it on the chalkboard.
Yes, so marketing.
Okay, marketing.
MARKEDING.
Okay,
yes.
So I said it wrong. It wasn't marketing.
It's so confusing. It's one of those things that visually...
You need the little dot in between.
I know, right? Or I need actually just bring a whiteboard and stick it up on the screen. I don't know what came over me. I mean, it was one of those things where I saw these students that had gone from happy, happy, happy with all the classes, loving the material, to you guys can do whatever you want for the final project. And they're like, look, and all of these stressed, overwhelmed faces. I'm like, what just happened to my classroom? I think some of it was like half frustration, not at them, but just at the, oh my gosh, like we need to get them ready for go time next week. And it just was like, I need to give them something that's kind of wacky, but also something that they're going to remember, right? Because that's with teaching.
Yes.
You need to have things
Yep.
that are memorable. And I'm also a smart aleck. So I wrote this horrible misspelling of the word marketing on the whiteboard. And I probably stood there for a minute and a half or 2 minutes and just let them squirm. And then I circled the ED and I said, this is a mashup of marketing and education. It's a mashup of those two words. Instead of thinking this old school way of marketing, let's look at this new redefined way that has education at the core. Now that you can do whatever you want for the final, I'm going to ask you a second time, what do you want to educate your ideal audience about? Like, what do you want to help them understand? And we had this beautiful, long discussion. It totally threw my curriculum out the window, but it gave us this space where they could just blurt out like, oh, we do biodynamic wines, or we have this XYZ, whatever. And then it was like those answers to those questions became the answers to, ooh, we don't say this as clear on our website. Our photography really doesn't showcase our products as well as they can, or,
It's not connected.
or, or even just looking at opportunities of, we do a beautiful job educating our clients through our monthly newsletter. Great. Can we repurpose that content into social media posts?
Yes.
Never thought of that. Cool. And it's all education, but it's like, how do we think, right? And marketing is a way to build relationships. And so how do we do it in a way that's strategic, that's creative, and that's where it's not looking at the number of posts or $3,000 a month for social media, but really looking at, well, how is that going to help me help my audience and create connections?
Not overwhelming.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. And actually, thank you for saying that as far as making it overwhelming, because it's important for listeners to also factor in that anyone you work with needs to also make your life as a leader not overwhelming. I hear all the time like, oh yeah, I always have to correct typos when I get the social media post review, not obviously from my team, but from other companies. And I was like, you don't deserve that. Oh, well, that's just kind of how it goes. No, actually it's not. And so you need to have people who are a pleasure to work with, whether it's your SEO team, your web person, if your web person's like, and they push back on stuff, that creates this like ick and this overwhelm. And you don't want to feel uncomfortable hitting send. You want to be like, yeah, these folks are an extension of my team, or your employees, your marketing employees. And are these people that bring you joy? I can tell you, hands down, every single person I work with, I love them. We laugh and we deal with problems all day long. If we inherit a website that's, hasn't been updated in 7 years and we've got to troubleshoot, like we're all like, hey, and it's hard, but we're all here to solution. And like, there's just this shared set of values. And that's not just internally in a company, it's externally. I think about, I love my CPA, I love my bookkeeper. There's no one that I work with that I'm not like, yeah. And that wasn't always the case, but that is important to note too, that overwhelm isn't just internal, it's all the team.
Well, and teaching people, you made a really good point, but teaching people to build, I say, from inside out. So you start with your own house and then you build out. So you build up your blogs. Your blog posts become social media posts. They become shorts. They become the subjects, right? So you don't have to rethink everything. You might just have to come up with so many subjects and then just implement them as you go. And it becomes easier, thus less overwhelming, because you're not creating something different every time. You're actually just building on a subject.
Yes, that's such a great point too, is like not making it so darn difficult, right? It doesn't have to be so hard. And there is that like, well, I've got to do this, and it sits as the blog. Well, actually a well-written blog post, so blogs are the original social media
Yes, they
first
are.
thing, that was the first social media. People don't think that sometimes, but a well-written blog post, has those juicy captions that can be reused and reused. And again, a well-written blog post can be shared. It can be shared years later. I can't tell you how many times if I'm trying to explain something to a client, I'm like, oh, actually, we did a blog post about that.
Yes.
And I go to my blog and I search the subject, and it might be a 4-year-old post, but it might be on content creation or something that I think, oh, like this would be helpful. And so, yeah, there's so much you can do with that. And, photography, imagery, having great templates. There's so many things. But yes, I love that building upon. I always say I'm a former Californian, now live in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm crunchy. I'm granola. I love recycling. I love like saving the planet, but I also love recycling marketing too. It's like why like the example I shared from one of my students with the email newsletter that they did. I was like, wow, this is great content. What we found was that newsletter had a decent open rate, kind of industry average 30%, but it also had recipes that were not on the website. It had photography that could be social media posts. And one of their pain points was, we just sit in front of the computer and we're trying to come up with stuff for social. It's like, well, you already have the
Exactly.
look at this. And that also is teaching, right? It's education. Oh, I didn't think of it that way. Well, of course not. That's not.
Because we think we have to come up with something fresh all the time. I'm not sure where that came from, but because in reality, if by the time you are absolutely sick of an ad, that is when actually, or a post or whatever, that is when people are actually starting to see it. And we forget that the way the algorithms work, unless you're in the paid ad world, you're not getting the reach you think you are. You think that when you send this post, everyone in your followers see it. No. If you get 1% nowadays, you're doing good.
That's a marketing ego problem. It's like, get over yourself. I mean, people don't wake up and go, oh, I wonder what Lorrie Thomas posted on Instagram. No, they don't. They happen to see something on LinkedIn. Cool. But if they don't, I might share it on my blog or somewhere else and tell them what you told them and tell them one more time. Not carbon copy messages, but there's different ways to reach people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that is a huge tip. What do you think one of the biggest mistakes that huge or large organizations are making when it comes to marketing, and how can I work with small businesses, so I'm a little curious about the larger companies. What is one thing that they could do if they needed to shift to a more educational version of marketing versus salesy?
What I see with larger organizations and the mistakes that they make versus small business is that they throw money at things. Because when you have a smaller budget, you have to be more creative. You have to be more, resourceful, tap into guerrilla marketing, where a bigger company might say, oh, we're going to buy this social media analytics software and it's amazing. And they're giving us a deal and it's only 20,000 and not 30. I'm like, cool. Who's going to drive it? Who's going to create the weekly, monthly, daily reports? And then it's like, well, we're going to buy this technology. I'm like, no. Technology, it's like having a Ferrari that sits in your garage that no one drives. So that's usually my biggest fire in the belly when I'm doing marketing audits for larger companies, is that there's just this kind of blind spending, thinking that, money will magically make marketing results. And it's, not always the case.
Interesting. I can see how that would work. Say you have 100,000 in your marketing budget. Because of your perspective of having 100,000, you may look at that very differently than the small business owner who has barely 1,000, right? Or maybe 10. They're like, I got to use this a whole year, so I better make it count. Yeah, that's an interesting difference. From someone who feels overwhelmed by all marketing options, what advice, by the advice that's out there, because we know there's there's tons of different marketing techniques, I will put it that way. What's the first step in getting that person on a path that resonates with them?
To own the overwhelm first and foremost.
Okay.
Honor it, right? This is time to hit the pause button, and don't accept this as an emotion that correlates to what you're doing. And let's break it down. We have breakthroughs when we break stuff down. Like, what is it about it? Is it how it's done? Is it the time? Is it the expense? Am I going to do it right? Or is it too much information overload? Let's start to sift through that fog and move to clarity. And it does involve listening and understanding. And for us at Marketing Therapy, we talk a lot about our feelings and our emotions. And if things don't feel right, or I just got this proposal, I don't know what I think of it, we often help our clients vet other proposals because we're putting all these puzzle pieces together so marketing clicks. And yeah, it's just, it's like, cool, thanks for saying that. So many people don't admit that. They just keep chugging along. So yeah, I'm a big believer in like break it down, and then suddenly those breakdown pieces become small. And when it's small, it's like, oh, yeah, I am working with a vendor where I've got to correct social media typos, or I'm worried that, I got to babysit them, or I've got to, I don't, I'm not loving my email campaigns and I have to rewrite them. Those are things that just aren't acceptable.
Or the fact that a lot of people think it has to be a daily task rather than a batched task, which is very different than in terms of the amount of energy you have to put into it.
Yeah. Or I'm a small business and I have a small budget, so I just have to tolerate, these kind of like this mediocre service or mediocre results. And it's like, no, absolutely not. And I'm still a small business owner, but I'm a 7-figure business owner. The day I stopped tolerating things was the biggest transition that I ever had in my business, not only with my marketing agency, but what I will say to my clients and work with them. And it's like, no, I don't care if that person is, a friend of a cousin's brother and is helping you guys out at a really discounted rate. We need to say things like, and you can be kind, right? Like you can say, this isn't working for me. Here's what I'd like to change. We're not managing people. We're not managing vendors. We're managing expectations when it comes to these kind of things.
Good way of putting it.
Yeah, and that takes the emotion out of it. That takes the like, oh, is she going to be mad if I send this email? Or, oh, I don't like this and I push back. And the right teams really collaborate with you. And it's like, I don't design. I am not a designer. I can't design to save my life. The team, they call me Anna Wintour. They're like, oh my gosh, you're like Anna Wintour. And I'm like, no, that's not right. And like, send it back. Or they're just like, oh. But we do a lot of internal vetting, and I can tell what's going to resonate. And so there's things that I might push back on. And I don't think, oh, I'm going to make my employees mad. I think I don't want to depress my client. I want to impress them. So how do I make sure that something totally passes my standards of approval and then is something that they're like, ooh. And that involves care and that's consideration, but it's also things where I just flat out say like, this isn't working. And that's in all pieces of the process. Same with ads. Like, can we talk about these ads, or can we look at the numbers? Like, could we be doing things differently? What am I missing? I think about how we correspond with ChatGPT, here's this thing. Can you help me look at questions maybe I didn't think to ask, or what's missing? So just staying curious is so essential to the creative process.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I think one of the things you really helped with in this episode is you talked about marketing doesn't have to feel icky, which is one of the things I preach to. I was one of those people who read tons of marketing books, and every one of them felt off until I got my hands on one. And that one was like talking to my soul, and it was narrative marketing. So as soon as I understood narrative marketing versus the number marketing or the bro marketing type things that they've had for many, many years, then I understood that there was a whole different way of talking about business. And then it was fun because you're just sharing knowledge. You're just sharing information, just like you said, you're educating. And that part is easy. That's what we do as service-based individuals. We don't give away the farm, but we definitely can help people see there are better ways and more effective ways. So I really appreciate all that information. We are going to come back again next week with Lorrie and talk a little bit more about the marketing systems that support the goals without the overwhelm. So we may be a little bit technical. I don't know. We'll see whether Lorrie wants to go down the technical hole or more the emotional one. I don't know. Being marketing therapy. We'll just have to wait to find out. So we will see you again or hear you again. No, you will hear me again and us again next week.
See you next episode. After all, it is your brand, your story, and your success, because I know that you matter in business. Thank you for listening to You Matter in Business podcast. Please follow, share, like, and comment. I would love to hear from you. This podcast is sponsored by Ariel Faith, Storytelling Marketing, and Your Brand Photographer. The show notes provide more information on how to contact Ariel and more information about this episode. Thank you again.
They told you to quiet down, but now you wear a crown. Visionary queen with a spark, lighting up the dark. Rediscover your own fire. Chase the dreams that lift you higher. Redefine your role today. Brand new in every way. Build your confidence through my lens. Break the walls you put up since. Embrace your power, hear your roar. You are meant for so much more. You are meant for so much more.